Hey guys, TommyBryson here, and is it possible to buy a home without having any credit whatsoever? And no, I do not mean, for example, grab a wad of cash and go and say, hey, I'm paying cash, I have no credit, because basically that is very unlikely because right now, by the way, real estate is very expensive, around like $200,000 for the average home price, which is insane. However, though, I mean, how do you get a mortgage like a normal person, except in this case, you don't have any credit whatsoever? How do you do it? And by the way, I grew up thinking, for example, you needed credit literally for everything, buying a car, buying your home. But in reality, I understood that having a fancy credit score and having credit in reality are two very different things. I understood this when basically I said, hey, what does a lender really care about? And in reality, it's just three things. They care about basically you making on-time payments, them making their profits, and then lastly, them getting their capital back in a safe manner. So in reality, if you're able to do that, you'll be solid. And remember, a credit score is just a history of how you manage payments and debt and all that stuff. And although you might not have any credit, there are other ways to actually prove, hey, I actually pay on time because I have this history, and this history. And I'll break all that down in this video right here. So how do you get a mortgage without credit? You're gonna find out ASAP. And by the way, if you guys are new here, I post videos on credit, buying homes, real estate, on top of that also investing. So if you like that stuff, go ahead and basically subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified. And on top of that also like this video, it helps a lot out. And if you want to call me and talk to me one-on-one, I have a link down below. Talk to me for free. The link is down below. Now, the very first thing, guys, obviously, one of the easiest methods to buy a home without any credit is going to be cash. However, this video is not about this. And let's be honest, it is going to take you a very long time to save $200,000 to then buy a property. And while you're saving up that money, you're still paying rent, which is basically money going down a bucket after a certain point. You always want to use a rent versus buy calculator to find out at what point does renting become more expensive than actually owning a home. However, that's not the video title for this video, so stick around to exactly how do you buy a home without having any credit. Now, the very first thing is this, guys. Because you don't have, for example, a credit score, whenever you go to a bank, usually they're going to ask you for a credit score. However, certain banks do not require you to actually have a credit score. They actually do something called manual underwriting, meaning they take a look at your rent payments, utility payments, and also insurance payments, and basically use that to create a profile and actually try to qualify you for a mortgage. Remember, okay, a credit score, credit history is just basically a history of how you manage debt, okay, or how you manage payments. And you've been managing payments in the real world, although you haven't been getting into debt whatsoever. I remember also, there is a difference from having a low credit score and, for example, having no credit score. A low credit score usually means, hey, I've been a little bit irresponsible. However, no credit score means, hey, I just been avoiding debt, not really getting into debt whatsoever, and been doing things my own way. So this person right here with no credit score, it's fine. But the person with no credit score, well, with a low credit score, that's the person that might be in trouble because you're going to show that lender, hey, I'm actually not that great with money. I've actually missed payments. I'm actually on collection. I have charge-offs. That is what's going to make things very hard for you. However, towards the end of the video, I'll tell you exactly how to kind of like handle this to make sure you're going to be okay. Now, it is very important you guys understand exactly how credit actually works, although you might not even have a credit score. Remember, you have credit history, a credit report, and also a credit score. Now, the way I think about this, make it very easy, is kind of like being back in high school or being back in middle school or college, whatever it is. If you guys remember, you had individual grades for each class, math class, science class, trigonometry, whatever it was. But then at the end of the school, was this a semester? When did you get this stuff? I don't even know. But at the end of the year, or most likely a semester, you got, for example, a report card, right? And then lastly, you also got a GPA. So overall, the credit history is going to be, hey, here's how this person manages their debt. They made payments over here. They have this debt right here. Here's how much they actually owe over here. That's your credit history. However, though, your entire credit report is going to compile all the information that you actually have, for example, in your credit history. The Equifax, the TransUnion, and lastly, also the Experian, okay? Those right there are the 3 credit bureaus. Your credit report is going to have all of that information right there compiled. That is your credit report. And then lastly, your credit score is going to be like your GPA. They're going to use all that information to give you, for example, a number. Now, remember, there are 5 main factors when it comes to your credit score. Now, the 5 main factors are basically, for example, your credit history, how much money you actually owe, the length of history that you actually have, any new debt you actually have, and then lastly, the type of debt. But obviously, the most important two are going to be, for example, your payment history and also the amount of money that you actually owe. Now, why is this? Because in reality, if I'm a lender and I want to approve, for example, for a mortgage, I want to make sure I'm going to get my on-time payment. So I want to look at basically that history. On top of that, I want to make sure that you don't owe every single person out there a bunch of money and all of your lines of credit are basically maxed out. Why? Because that is going to be a bad sign. Now, thankfully, because you have no credit, most likely you don't owe anybody money. And most likely, you've also been making your rent payments, utility payments, and also lastly, insurance payments, for example, on time. And by the way, it's not just those 3, but whatever payments you can actually use to actually give them all that information. So basically, it can compile all that information to approve you or qualify you for a mortgage. So overall, the answer is yes, you can get a mortgage without having any credit, but you will have to go to a bank that actually does manual underwriting. Towards the end of the video, I'll tell you exactly what banks those actually are. However, though, guys, I know some of you, for example, might be saying, well, Tommy, what if I do have credit, but I actually have some problems, right? I actually have a low credit score. I missed some payments, have some charge-offs, medical bills, things just not go my way. Well, in reality, I get it. I understand it. And you know, there are government programs out there that actually enable you the possibility to actually own a home, even though you might have, for example, quote unquote, bad credit. So that means, for example, you can basically get an FHA loan, a VA loan, or for example, a USDA loan. However, though, the problem is that although this does sound very tempting and pretty good, hey, only 3.5% down with the FHA loan or 0% down with the VA loan, you know, these things sound pretty cool. However, though, because you're not putting down any real equity on your real down payment on these properties, you will pay PMI, which is basically very expensive. And on top of that, usually people get these loans in a 30-year format, meaning usually they're gonna be paying it for a very, very long time, which means, hey, more interest, more interest, more interest, more profits, more profit, more profits for the banks. So although it is sound cool, my recommendation would just be, hey, whenever you do get into this space, if you have bad credit, the answer is you can get these government programs. So just make sure, for example, you have 10% or 20% down. So that way you can basically avoid PMI insurance, okay? That's the cool thing. Remember, pay off your debts, and then, you know, that's how you kind of fix it step by step, okay? That's the whole idea. Now, lastly, guys, before I leave, I do want to mention something, guys, okay? Remember, putting down a decent down payment is going to help you out a lot. Also, having a good income is going to help you out a lot. Meaning if you have at least 2-3 years in a job, which is basically very secure, pretty awesome, that's going to help you out a lot. And lastly, having a history of your rent, utilities, and insurance is also going to help you out a lot, whether you are no credit or low credit. All these things are going to help you. Hey, I've had bad credit for the past 3 years, but look at my payments right here. I've been paying on time for the past 2 years. I fixed my situation. It's just my credit score is taking a lot longer to basically reflect all of my improvements, okay? Remember, a credit score is like a story. So you have to talk to that individual to actually convey exactly what's actually happening with you and your entire credit history story. Now, lastly, you have some banks that will work with you. For example, like Rocket Mortgage, you have Churchill Mortgage. But overall, my recommendation would just be, hey, just call around, compare rates, and say, hey, do you guys actually do manual underwriting? And you know, usually they'll say yes, but some big banks will say no. But the answer is just look around, look around, look around, okay? You're looking for the best rate, not, for example, for the fanciest name out there. Your best fit is not always going to be the biggest bank out there. But guys, overall, that is it for this video. I hope it helped you. and kind of give you peace of mind to tell you, hey, you don't need to have this crazy high credit score or any credit whatsoever to actually buy a home. All you need is a job with decent income and also history of pay stubs, also a history of payments, and then lastly, a good down payment, and you will be solid. I'll see you guys next time. As always, like this video on top of that. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified. And lastly, if you guys want to call me and talk to me one-on-one, well, join me on my other channel called Ask TommyBryson, where I take calls. The link is down below, and the calls, by the way, are actually free. Or just send me a DM on Instagram at TommyBryson. Here is another video here. Click my face right here. And as always, see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Long-term team for the win, and peace.